Let's get to Congressman Morgan Griffith, Congressman, 9th District Republican, Virginia, Southwest Virginia. Congressman, great to have you. Merry Christmas. You're live.
Merry Christmas. Great to be with you, John.
Let's get to the PPP, the new stimulus, the pandemic. Your speaker said publicly, she's so brazen. She basically said, look, I didn't move forward this package because it was going to help Trump in the election. So too bad you didn't get the money. Too bad your business went under. Too bad you went bankrupt. Sorry, but I couldn't help Trump. Now that it's over, and as far as I'm concerned, Biden's president-elect, according to Pelosi, now I'm ready to deal. How did you guys react to that?
Well, I mean, most of us already expected that was what was going on. I even said that on the campaign trail. Pelosi has always been all about politics and politics only, so she doesn't really care about the country, in my opinion. What she cares about is winning the next election, and that's what she went out to do, and it was at least a part of the reason that there wasn't a landslide for Donald Trump, is that, people were worried about what was happening, and they wanted to see another stimulus package. But Trump didn't have that power, and Pelosi had the power to block it, and she blocked it. We're still having trouble putting together a package, and then what leadership is going to do that always drives me crazy, as you know, is they're probably going to put the COVID relief package in with an omnibus spending bill that goes to the end of the year, along with all kinds of other year-end airdropped legislation into the middle of this omnibus. And, I fear, I'll have to take a look at it, but I fear they're going to give it to us. It'll be thousands of pages long, and probably a couple thousand, maybe only 1,800, maybe 2,800. Mm-hmm. But they'll give us, a bill that's massive and give us about 12 hours to vote on it. This is not the way to do legislation. And even if I have to stay here till Christmas Day or on Christmas Day, I'm happy to stay here, debate the issues, try to figure these things out, and get a bill that's good for people. And what they ought to do is put a COVID relief package on the table by itself. I think that would pass. I think the vast majority of us would vote for that. Instead, what they're going to do is cram it into the omnibus and try to make it that you have to vote for all this additional spending, not just COVID spending, but additional spending and additional new programs and additional new laws all in one package, so that you don't have to fear when you go home that somebody will say you voted against the stimulus for the COVID package.
So in order to vote for the COVID package and to get more PPP and to help businesses and to help people that have been laid off, in order to get that, you're going to have to sign on to all this other crap. And there's no way around that. It's back to either her way or the highway. So they bail out big cities that have mismanaged themselves. They bail out states that are in deficit. They bail out pension funds of their biggest donors and unions. I mean, is that what we're back to now, Congressman?
Well, it appears that they're going to back off of the bailing out of the failed cities and the failed states, but there's going to be a lot of other programs that aren't as high profile, that people haven't talked about, that are buried in this massive bill that people won't know about, in some cases for years. Some people will discover it in a few weeks, but there will be, somebody will come up and say, how did this get passed? Well, it got passed in the omnibus bill of 2020. And that's why I don't like the omnibus bill concept, because what it does is it lets you slide in all kinds of, and some of it I support,
right?
But you slide in all kinds of legislation in there with all the spending between now and September 30th, and at least 15 or 20 other bills, maybe as many as 30 or 40. But I know there's at least 7 or 8 that originally started in the committee I serve on, Energy and Commerce, and I support those. We went over those the other day, but my thought was, okay, this is just one committee, and these are the bills that they're negotiating to get into the omnibus. How many more bills from the other committees that I don't know about are being slid in there, and do I support all of those? And the answer is probably not. So I like to read the bills. As you know, I don't vote yes on a bill unless I've had an opportunity to read it, and I'm afraid what they're going to do is put me in a situation where it's impossible to read the bill before we have to vote on it, and then I'll have to face, having voted against COVID relief, which is not what I want to do. I will vote for COVID relief if I'm given a standalone bill. Even if the spending is more than I think we need, in some areas, I would vote for COVID relief because the people out there, the small mom and pop shops, the restaurants, they're all suffering and they need help, and we need to help them. But we're being held hostage, in essence, for lots of other programs and lots of other spending in order to get help.
So what is your minority leader, Kevin McCarthy, saying about this? Morgan Griffith.
I mean, and part of the dilemma that we have is that leadership, whether it be Democrat or Republican, likes these omnibus-type bills. I don't. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as I will say to Kevin's credit, he has been in there fighting, one, to keep the caps that were agreed to previously, and two, to keep out that bailout of failed Democrat cities and failed Democrat states. Mm-hmm. So, you got to give him credit for keeping that out, but we're still going to get a very large package that's not just COVID relief, but lots of other things.
Will it pass?
It will. I talked to a very conservative member yesterday who said he could not go home if he voted against COVID relief. And so he's going to vote for it. And normally he would be a no vote on a large package like that. And that's the pressure that's going to be put on a lot of people. And look, if I get time to read through it, I might vote yes, even though I know there's some things in there I don't like. But I've got to be able to read through it. I made that pledge to my voters that I would not vote for a bill unless I'd had an opportunity to read it. I'm not going to tell you I can understand every line and every sentence, but if I see something I don't think I understand, I immediately get it to my staff and we start researching it. But I read through the bills. I think that's my job. That takes time, and nobody wants to be here. This is why they set it up right before Christmas. They always do that. I voted against that back in September because they want people to want to go home and not to be here. Mm-hmm. But my job is to be here. I'm in the Capitol right now as I'm speaking to you. My job is to be here in the Capitol. My job is to read the bills and to make the best votes that I can. And if you don't give me time to read the bills, I cannot vote yes.
Unbelievable. I mean, so they're going to force this down your throat before Christmas, and if you vote no, you're like the Scrooge, right? You didn't bring anything home to help your constituents that are really hurting because of these and they put the new COVID restrictions in, so you have to vote for the bill in order to bail themselves out. I mean, think about this, right? Think about how this works, right? You're Gavin Newsom or you're Tony Evers or you're one of these Democratic governors. Their states have no money. They're failing. They've mismanaged these cities forever. They need the bailout. They put more restrictions on. They put more small businesses out to make more people suffer that don't have jobs. Then they can jam in on Christmas Eve all their goodie bags so they can bail themselves out. And you have to bail them out because they've done the restrictions to make you bail them out. I mean, think about what they've done, right? I mean, it's diabolical, but it's the way the Democrats operate. I mean, the part of the reason that they put these restrictions on now is so that you have to get the omnibus bill passed because you're out at work or your business is going bankrupt and you can't, feed your family. So you have to pass it. But then in it, they put all this stuff to bail them out. And that's why they did the restrictions. So they had to get bailed out. It's unbelievable. And, they think we're stupid. I mean, this is what Georgia voters have been saying over and over. We're not stupid. And we're done with this. And look, yourself, Rob Whitman, I mean, Ben Klein in Virginia, you guys have been fighting this stuff. I mean, Whitman's been fighting this for 10 years. It just doesn't matter. It never changes. Very, very upsetting. And I get where you're coming from, and I see your dilemma. I mean, businesses need the relief, and so you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, it puts you guys in a very tough position. And you're right, Congressman. That's why they set this up for Christmas Eve. It's incredible. They're good. I mean, they're bad, but they're good, I guess. I don't know the answer. All right, Congressman Morgan Griffith with us, Republican, 9th District, Virginia. All right, let's get to January 6th. In reality, it's a show because at the end of the day, the Democrats have the votes. So if Jody Heiss in Georgia objects to the 16 electoral votes going to Joe Biden and believes that there was fraud in Georgia like I do, and he says no, and then he gets the senator to go with him. Let's say it's Kelly Loeffler, which I think she ought to commit to now. That's fine. You have a 2-hour debate, both houses split. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because the Democrats have a majority, right, in the House.
Well, it's not just the Democrats have a majority in the House. It's that we will have a significant number, maybe not on the Georgia one, but you've got to challenge more than Georgia to have any hope of having any real impact. You've got to challenge, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan, and so what's going to happen is that you would have 30 or 40 Republicans who would be very nervous about that, and that number may be high, but you'd have a significant number of Republicans who would be worried about that because their districts don't understand. They don't all have a John Fredericks on the radio explaining how this works, and they don't understand. They see that all these lawsuits have been lost. So absent a smoking gun, we're going to have a lot of folks who would be very hard-pressed to vote for it. I would, but others would have a hard time with it. And then you look over at the Senate, and the Senate's not going to do it because Mitch McConnell's already said so. And they're not going to vote, so you have all the Democrats and most of the senators voting to seat the Georgia electors, in essence, and count their votes. And so that means that those Republicans that we might be able to convince to vote for it in the House just aren't going to do it because they don't see any reason to to stir up those people in the middle who don't understand, who think that it's all done and said, who haven't heard the John Fredericks show or something similar to it. I'm not sure there is anything similar to it in the rest of the country.
Thank you.
And as a result of that, they're worried, and we end up losing. And the question is, while it may make us all feel better, have we really accomplished anything, or have we set ourselves back a little bit? And I don't know the answer to that, but I think it would be great if one of the remaining lawsuits would at least get heard.
Right.
I think it would be great if there was a smoking gun. I heard earlier on your show that somebody thought there might be, they were waiting on the intelligence report because there might be a smoking gun. Hey, something like that happens, it's a game changer.
Right.
But as the field is set today, the votes aren't there in the House, the votes aren't there in the Senate.
Right.
It was done against Bush in 2004. 35 Democrats, were upset. They objected to one of the states at least, and the rest is history. Nothing happened. And so I don't want to mislead. You're always trucking the truth. I don't want to mislead your listeners, and don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying
there's no chance of it.
There's
There's no chance of the election being overturned on January 6th in the House. There's no chance. Okay, so and it's a show. And personally, I think if Kelly Loeffler wants to win, she probably should back the effort because that'll motivate Trump voters. And sometimes, there's things you have to do, even though it's an Alamo type thing. You got to do it. You got to show that you're willing to stand up and fight. So I get that. Even if Georgia went down, you still don't have enough. So, look, I think Loeffler should do that. I think it would help her, and I think if she did it, she would probably win. Because, Trump voters call me up every day in Georgia, and they're mad because she's not doing anything. She's not taking a stand on anything is really what the issue is. But this is not going to get overturned January 6th in the House, okay? We don't have the votes. That's reality. That's just reality, okay? However, is it a done deal? No, because you've still got Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood's cases they have a docket number on the Supreme Court, and there's probably a 50% chance that one of these get heard. And if they get heard, you get the evidence out. There's the game changer because you can't hide it, you can't feign it didn't happen. It'll get coverage, and people start to see the level of deception here that's gone on. Certainly in Georgia. I can only speak for Georgia. I have not looked at any other state. So Michigan, Wisconsin, I only know what I've seen in the media or from other sources. But in Georgia, I've been in the ground live here for 6 weeks. So I know firsthand what has gone on. But, Congressman, you're right. Trump is not going to get named president on January 6th in the House. We simply don't have the votes. So it isn't going to happen. However, we'll have to see what happens with these final two lawsuits. Congressman, thank you for just being honest with us about not only the January 6th thing, but how this COVID bill is getting jammed down your throat and how they manipulate the system. Congressman, thank you. You are the truth trucker in Congress.